This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
The public hearing of the Ordinance Committee of October 26th is called to order. Margot, can you let me know if there are any public members that would like to speak?
There are no public members.
I'll give it 1 minute, see if anybody comes on late. Hey, Caitlin.
Hi.
Dave Harden, oh, there he is. Dave Harden is here. Okay, it's 7:01. With no public testimony tonight, I will call the hearing portion of this meeting closed at 7:01 p.m. It's 7:01 p.m. and I will call the regular meeting of the Ordinance Committee to order. We are holding virtually, and I would just like to do a quick roll call of who is in attendance. Caitlin Tree.
Here.
Chris Pia.
Here.
Paul Tavares. Dave Harden. I saw Dave before.
I'm here. Dave's here.
Thank you, Dave. Greg Ham.
Here.
Ken Poison.
Here.
Bill Perillo.
Here.
Jim Connor.
Here.
Bill O'Brien.
Hi, Laura. I'm here.
Hi, Bill. And this is Laura Dancho chairing the committee today, chairing the meeting today. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We'll start with the agenda. Before we begin, can I get a motion to amend today's agenda to add the approval of the meeting minutes of 4/27 and 6/23?
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chris. Is there a second?
Second, Bill O'Brien.
Thank you, Bill. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion carries 9-0. Paul Tavares is still not with us, correct? Right. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of 4/27 and 6/23?
Motion to approve.
Second by Dave Harden.
Thank you, Dave. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 9-0. Let's move on to item 2, item 2.1. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve item 2.1, an ordinance appropriating an additional $6.9 million to the capital improvements and equipment programs for fiscal year 2020 to 2021 for roof replacement projects at Worcester Middle School, Chapel Street Elementary School, and Second Hill Elementary School.
Can we take these both together?
You can, John Floric here, you can if you want, but if somebody wants to separate them, they have that right to make a motion.
But put them together.
Okay, so Madam Chair, I'll retract my motion and restate for item 2 to approve item 2.1 and 2.2 as stated in the agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? This was brought up at our last town council meeting, and I think it was pretty clear. So hearing no discussion, I will take a vote on items 1.1. Can I do the votes as one, or do we need to separate them?
No, together. The motion was together.
Together. do a together vote then. Hearing no discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries 9-0. And the last item on the agenda is our schedule for next year. Has anybody have any questions on that? And if not, we'll take a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve item 3, the schedule of regular meetings for 2021 as stated.
Thank you. And is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Dave Harden.
I heard Caitlin shake first. Thank you though, Dave. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 9-0. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Ken Poisson, thank you very much. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Carries 9-0. Thank you, everyone. The meeting is closed at 7:06.
This
Leaving Dave
conference
Wright.
will now be recorded.
Thank you, Margot.
Thank you, Margot. So to confirm, we have Dave Wright controlling right now and Carol secretary. Okay.
I'm here, Chris.
Gotcha, Dave. Good. Thank you. All right. So good evening, everybody. Today is October 26, 2020. It is 7:07 p.m. My name is Chris Pia. This is the WPCA meeting of the town of Stratford. With that, the first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. I'll entertain that motion, please.
Laura Dancho, motion to approve.
Ms. Dancho,
Second, Bill O'Brien.
Second.
Councilor O'Brien, thank you, sir. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes 9-0. Just to double check, we have everybody. I don't believe anybody else changed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We were just missing Paul still.
Do I have 8 or 9 counselors? I'm just double looking at the screen. Carol. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There's
6,
9.
7, 8, 9. We have 9. Just want to confirm. Okay. Thank you all. Next item on the agenda, Mr. Casey.
Yes, my memo was sent out on Friday. The first item is the pump station project. We have included in the bid, in order to get competitive pricing on annual service charges, we put an item in for a 1-year contract for the telemetry system to communicate the data from the pump stations back to the treatment plant. And we also put an alternate in there for an extension of that service contract for another 4 years, so a total of 5 years. And that is not an eligible item under the Clean Water Fund grant. And so therefore, we're recommending that we take a credit from the contract and instead use those prices and have a separate agreement with the company that would be paid annually as part of the operational costs of the treatment plant and the pump stations. So basically, it's not an eligible item for the funding that we have for the pump station, so we have to pay for it out of pocket anyway. So we might as well pay for it as part of our annual operating budget.
Okay.
Question, Chairman?
Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead, Greg.
Mr.
Yep.
Casey, could you just, thank you, sir. Could you just give us an overview, the value of the telemetry and the feedback it'll give us in regards to operating quality?
We're able to get more real-time data from the pump stations that we can, not we, but Tom Hyde and his staff can see at the treatment plant as far as how the pump stations are operating. They can get that information centrally located on their computers at the treatment plant. So that will, it's a better system than what we have now, which is basically much less data coming back from the pump stations.
Okay.
Do we need a motion, Chris, to
Yep. I
approve
was
the
just
recommendation?
Would you like to do that, Greg?
Motion to accept the recommendations from John Casey to separate these items related to telemetry and have them funded by the WPCA, maybe by the sewer revolving fund.
So, yeah, we recommend that that would be funded in the operational budget, just be a line item in the budget from now until forever.
Right, because it's more year-to-year operation. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, with that amendment, if you will.
Okay, so Greg, just so we're clear, motion to approve item A, and as stated in Mr. Casey's memorandum, funding from operating, correct, each year? That's your motion?
Yes, thank you.
No problem. So motion by Ms. Can, do I have a second?
Laura Dancho will second.
Okay, second by Ms. Dancho. Any further discussion on this? Okay, no further discussion. We'll call for a vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Casey.
And then the other item for an action item is for the sewer rehabilitation project. We came to you last month with the cost to do lining at Heartland Avenue to extend the lining from that 18-inch trunk sewer, which is in a deteriorated condition. We did not account for some other work that would be needed to be done as part of that. Number one is the cost for the contractor to remobilize to the site and then re-clean the pipe, make sure it's clean enough to be lined, and then also to open up the house sewer connections. That's an item in the contract. So in other words, once they put the liner in the pipe, then they have to come back and cut open the connections for each house. So that's an important part of the project. So that additional cost, we're still kind of negotiating the remobilization cost, but the others are items in the contract. So we're recommending not to exceed an additional $29,182 on top of what we had approved last month for implementing that part of the work. I will also tell you, we have that other contract pending for our I&I rehabilitation. So we also asked for a price to do this work from them, and their price was higher. So even with this extra cost that we hadn't think about last month, this is still a better price because the bid was quite a good bid that we got last time we bid this project.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve item B for the sewer rehab as stated by Mr. Casey.
Motion from Greg Ham.
Motion by Greg. Thank you, sir. Do I have a second to Greg's motion? Mr. Perillo, I saw your hand, sir. I'll take you on the second. Yep, thank you. Any discussion? Any questions from Mr. Casey? Discussion on this for item B?
This is Greg.
Yep.
Would this represent a capital item that could be paid out of the sewer revolving fund?
I don't know if is Dawn on the call. Not
Dawn or Chris.
Dawn Savo was going to be on the call to talk about capital in general, but we will be double checking our budgets for this project and the other project we have for sewer rehab to ensure that the funding already exists in the budgets that we have. Other than that, Dawn was looking at the sewer revolving fund in the past, and I'm not sure if Dawn's here to talk about that.
So,
I'm
Chris,
here, Chris.
I got a lot of. Yep. Go ahead, Chris.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, I met with Dawn today to go over exactly this. We looped Chris PA in on a telephone call as we're trying to strategize what is a capital project, what's not a capital project, how much money we have left over in the revolving fund, and down the road, as we want to sort of timeline all this stuff out as the projects become closer to getting underway, we decided that we want to have a sit down with John Casey to map out the future to see exactly where each one of these projects stacks up so we can figure out the best way to fund it.
So Chris and to John. John, coming into last month, and correct me because I know it's in the minutes, but this project on Heartland, we were planning on paying through operating or paying through capital anyway.
Yeah, it's capital fund that you authorized in the capital plan.
Right.
And then, we're trying to resolve the difference between what you're approving in the capital plan and the accounts being set up in the finance department.
Understood. So correct me if I'm wrong, John, and Chris, back me up here. There's no reason, it doesn't seem like we can't, for this not to exceed 29,182 take from the fund.
I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that right now.
Okay, as it's for capital improvements.
Yeah. And
okay.
it was, I mean, obviously you guys know it was voted on by the body when you passed the capital improvement plan.
Right. Okay. So, Greg, does that help answer? I think you and I are on the same page with that.
Yeah, an accounting of what we expect to be in the revolving fund maybe by a point in time, and then how it could be allocated over the short term for upcoming capital projects. If Mr. Timiak and Don could put that together for us, then we'd be in perfect shape.
Yeah, that's I was going to save that till we get to the update on coastal resiliency because it kind of tied into the financing, but we'll come back to that in a minute. But to your point, we're on the same page so far.
Okay, agree.
Any other discussion for item B before we call for a vote, please? Okay. Being there's no other discussion, we'll call item B for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes 9-0. Back to you, Mr. Casey, for project summary report.
So another thing as far as report is concerned, we had pulled the underground storage tank, the fuel tank at Riders Lane Pump Station. There was no evidence of petroleum contamination when they pulled the tank, so that's good news. They did find some contaminants of the soil that they were excavating, though, and so we're currently evaluating how we can best handle that soil and dispose of it. So nothing to approve for you right now, but we're going to have to manage some soils that have some contamination, which is kind of typical. Every time we dig, we hit something. But the good news is the oil tank has been removed and there was no oil leaking from the tank. So that was a concern that we had. The other part of that equation is that tank was used to fuel the generator, and the generator has a tank on it. So we didn't need the underground outside storage tank with fuel. The tank that's on the generator, however, is not large enough to meet the requirements of the state for operating the pump station in an emergency. So we're going to have to exchange the tank that is attached to the generator and making sure that we're compliant with the DEP codes on operations. So that will be coming to next month, the cost of upgrading that tank for the generator.
Okay. Next item, Mr. Casey.
I guess from financing point of view, the other projects are surrounding the financing of the projects. So I guess we'll be meeting with Don and Chris to review the financing of those projects. So I don't have anything to report, I guess, for your coastal resiliency. That was one thing we were going to report back to you this month. I will report back to you next month.
Yep. And so I'll jump in right there for everyone to bring everyone up to speed on that. As everyone will remember from our meeting minutes last month, we discussed the grant that we were awarded in the amount of 2.7 million and change for the coastal resiliency program from the federal government, which is a win for the town and the ratepayers, obviously. We're working with, and again, all this is in the minutes, the estimated cost to be around 10 million. The mayor did sign off, and Chris Timniak, jump in at any time. The mayor did sign off on, as we have voted to allow her to sign off on a commitment letter on this, and we were going to discuss financing going forward. Prior to the meeting, I did speak with the CAO and Dawn Savo, the finance director, really to talk about looking at all of them, because we've been doing a really good job. The WPCA has been doing a really good job over the last couple of years with lining up critical infrastructure projects and improvements for the plant, the pump stations, and whatnot, sewer lining, I&I, capacity flow studies. We're really doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is great because we're taking care of our property. So the point is, the conversation came up about all of these things that we're starting to line up in terms of financing going forward and bonding, whatnot. Obviously, the pump stations are around the 20 million is coming from the Clean Water Fund, so that's easy. But for something like this, for the net amount, give or take the $7 million, if we're going to do this, which we've committed to, we got to figure out how we're going to finance it. Do we put it in operating? Do we bond it? So on and so forth. So I did ask Mr. Timniak and Ms. Savo to join us this evening and to sit down with Mr. Casey and myself so that we can present the WPCA for next month, basically what our schedule is going forward and when notes will come on for liability payments and whatnot to basically dictate cash flow. So Ms. Savo, Mr. Timniak, if you'd like to add in anything to those points.
Chris, I think you summarized what we talked about pretty well. There's obviously a lot of WPCA projects going on right now. I think it's a great time to sort of do a big picture, put together a worksheet of, where and when the money is going to come from and when it's going to be spent. And I look forward to getting something to the WPCA committee next month.
Okay. And Ms. Savo, anything to add on? Chris said it well. Okay. Any questions for myself, Dawn, or Chris on this aspect? Is everyone pretty clear? We want to line up our future costs, obviously, and now that and find the most appropriate bonding for everything going forward. Is essentially the summary. Okay. Excellent. Mr. Casey, I believe that's all for you, sir, for your report.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hyde, Tom Hyde.
Yes, good evening.
All right, Tom, go ahead.
My report starts with, just a second here, I was reading through his operating report for September. Is attached. I believe you all have copies of these reports.
Yep, we received it all. Yep.
In the second half of September, the treatment facility was hit with another toxic load, which resulted in 3 NPDES permit violations. First being the BOD, or biochemical oxygen demand limit, was not met on September 24th. Additionally, the total TSS, total suspended solids, limit was exceeded on September 24th and 25th. This is not as devastating as the July 2020 episode. However, it set the nitrogen exchange recovery process back an additional month, maybe 2. Plant is currently running very well. We made some adjustments and did what we had to do, got it back on track again.
Tom,
secondly, the plant.
Oh, I was just going to say, we did get that report, and that's well stated. Do you have you have a couple action items?
Okay, I was going to say I didn't need to read through this plant maintenance stuff. The new items, the internal recycle pump, which was removed from the aeration tank in September.
needs to be rebuilt. I got a quote for this pump for bid 2018-001 is $15,996. Request to move forward with this repair and draw funds from the capital outlay contingency line 38938-6641 set aside for this purpose.
Okay, so I have a request from Mr. Hyde, as stated, for $15,996 and from a capital outlay contingency line. I'll entertain that motion, please.
Laura Dancho, motion to approve $15,996.
Thank you, Ms. Danton. Do I have a second?
Second, Bill O'Brien.
Seconded by Mr. O'Brien. All right. Any discussion on this item for Mr. Hyde? Okay. No discussion. We'll call the item to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes 9-0. Thank you, Mr. Hyde. Next item, please.
The second item, the plant water strainer used to remove the solids from the plant effluent water that'll be used as service water within the plant is failing and is leaking severely. I called into professionals that deal with these. They've given me estimates on replacement of this unit ranging from $30,000 to $60,000. I did some additional research since I wrote this, and it's going to be under that $30,000, quite possibly significantly under. So I will get back to you on this next month.
Okay, so we'll hold off
setting
on
that
it.
aside completely for now.
Okay, not a problem. One thing I'll just jump in, Mr. Hyde, and I'd like to ask someone if someone wouldn't mind amending the this agenda to add an item that was in our that was discussed last month, and I'll reference in the meeting minutes on page 5 under report for WPCA Plant Superintendent, item 4A. The town of Shelton contracted Stratford regarding a 5-year renewal, and we voted 8-0 to send this to the WPCA attorney, Mr. Marino. So I do have Mr. Marino on this evening. So I would ask that someone make a motion to amend this item, this agenda, to add this item so we can discuss that, please.
Laura Dancho, I'll make the motion to amend the agenda to add this item.
Thank you, Ms. Dancho. Do I have a second to that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Caitlin. Ms. Shake. Any discussion on the item? Okay. To amend, no discussion. We'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes 9-0. So items now on the agenda. I will entertain a motion. Excuse me. Before I entertain that, Mr. Marino, I will hand it over to you, sir. If you can give the WPCA an update on your findings after reviewing the contract.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Herbst from my office worked on this matter with Mr. Hyde. And there's a document. I don't know if it was forwarded to the body, but it's entitled Special Permit to Discharge to the Sanitary Sewer. I don't know if you don't have it. I don't know if I have the ability to share my screen. I might be able to project it to you. But let me review it for you. It's a permit dated November 1st, 2020, which expires November 1, 2025. The discharging location being the CRRA, Shelton Landfill Ash Leach Project, 866 River Road in Shelton. And it's issued to the CRRA. Thank you.
So, Mr. Marino, we didn't receive a copy of it yet. At least I didn't. Okay. So I'm going to. Oh, you got it on there.
Okay, perfect. So let me run through it with you then. It's not a terribly long document. So basically, from a contract standpoint, it's really in the form of a permit allowing them to discharge, and it will set forth the obligations of the user. So it shall be required that the discharge be sampled and tested monthly for biochemical oxygen demand, suspended solids, and total nitrogen, with copies of these test results delivered to the town of Stratford. City of Shelton recognizes this permit allowing discharge should not place an undue burden on the town or the WPCA. existing infrastructure. Currently, the town agrees to accept up to a maximum from the city of 3,000 gallons per day. If the city exceeds this cap, the city shall evaluate all options to reduce flow levels, such as turning off any and all unnecessary process flows. At the time, the town evaluates the relevance of volume to plant and collection system capacity. The town shall charge the city standard commercial rates. The current rate is $4.62. The commercial rate shall be set each year as the town and WPCA set their annual operating budget. The CRA shall utilize a certified laboratory approved by the town for all sampling required. Copies of any and all testing done for the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection and the EPA shall be supplied to the town. The CRA shall pay all fees associated with the required sampling, and the town reserves the right to change the sampling parameters as needed. The Stratford WPCA shall be notified immediately as to any system malfunction, system changes, or problems which could impact or adversely affect the discharge to the sewer line. If any reason the City of Shelton Deep EPA disapprove of the CRA's application and/or permit, this permit shall be disapproved and/or revoked. A control manhole shall be maintained on the discharge line for sampling at the location approved by the town. This installation shall be in accordance with Chapter 172.23 of the Stratford Municipal Code. The volume of wastewater discharged shall be recorded by a non-resettable meter. The meter to be used must be approved by the town and designed for the intended purpose. It shall be the responsibility of the applicant to secure all necessary permits and be the responsibility of the applicant to pay all costs associated with those permits. The town reserves the right to make revisions to this permit at any time and to discontinue this connection into the sewer line if it is found to affect the operation or discharge permit of the authority, facility, or limit the town's expansion. This permit shall expire on November 1, 2025. The town shall be notified 60 days in advance of its expiration date if renewal will be requested. This shall be a condition precedent to any renewal being granted. Failure to do so shall constitute non-renewal of the permit. The previous discharge permits issued June 1604, June 1699, and June 1394 are made a part of this permit and attached as Schedule A. I would note when we were, according to the notes that Attorney Herbst sent to me, there were no permits that could be located after the June 16th 04 permit. So that's why they were not incorporated in here by reference. But I believe this captures the necessary language that would be required to protect the interests of the authority.
Thank you, Mr. Marino. So I have one question for you and one question for Mr. Casey. To you, Mr. Marino, is this consistent with past permits? Nothing really changing, and you're not in any way worried about the town issuing it?
No, I think this actually, I think, protects the town as reservation of rights are in the town's favor. If anything at any time is discovered that impairs the system, the town has the right of revocation of this permit.
Excellent. And can you just scroll up, sir, to the beginning? Mr. Casey? John, is this consistent with the 3,000 GPD per day max in terms of what we modeled from them a couple years, a year and a half ago on our flow study?
What we modeled was from the city of Shelton as a whole, not necessarily any individual connection.
Okay. So
I don't recall exactly. Maybe somebody else knows what our previous permits were for from 2004. Did that have a gallonage restriction?
I don't.
It was not specific.
It was Tom. What'd you say, Tom Hyde?
The previous permits were not specific to the gallonage. There was a statement of 1,000 gallons in one of them, but it wasn't written clearly. I had been attempting to check on what the overall town permit was, but I don't.
So Mr. Casey, I'll just point out, so in the meeting minutes from last month, it says they produce on average of less than 1,000 gallons a day from this permit. That's in our minutes from last month, which is fine with these numbers with me. And then, if you said you modeled this into the overall town, which I believe was around 300,000 GPD, and we're only at around, again, don't quote me, around 145,000, 150,000 GPD per year, I'm completely fine with this.
Yeah, I agree. It's a small amount, and it just goes against the total that we want to look at from the city as a whole.
Understood. Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Marino on the permit, or Mr. Casey for that matter? Mr. Poisson, go ahead, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if this is for you or for the attorney or for the secretary, but why didn't we get this document ahead of time?
I can answer that. It actually, we were waiting on some information that we just got today. I had a late afternoon conversation with the chair, and I let him know that it was in form, meaning ready for presentation, but it just got finalized this afternoon. So I think the chair put it forward tonight rather than wait a month.
Yeah, we were working on it. Vin was waiting on more info. We got it today. I told him I wanted to get it on because it's something that I want to keep moving on. So that's why we went through it. Any other questions?
Greg Can.
Go ahead, Greg.
Thank you, Chris. I'm calling in, so I cannot see the document, but I believe there's two additions to the current permit or agreement. One, we may not have a meter now, but we're going to have a meter, and we may not have like that DEP laboratory assigned for testing where Shelton's liable for the testing. Those seem, if I remember, two items that we wanted to improve the current agreement with, and just confirming that they're both in the revised agreement.
So the meter, go ahead, Vin.
Go ahead, Mr. I apologize, Mr. Chair. Sure. Go ahead.
Greg, the meter, to your point, being that this, and I think John answered that question, at least to is the meter we were talking about is on the town-wide from the overall flow. Being that this is less than 1,000 GPD per day per month, I want to make sure I say the right gallons a day. I don't think the town-wide cost of installing a meter on less than 1,000 GPD per day. Does that make sense?
Mr. Chair, I just highlighted paragraph 11 does provide the volume of wastewater discharge shall be recorded by a non-resettable meter. I highlighted it for the body. It's the first line of paragraph 11.
Fair enough.
And second, I'm sorry, sir, the second issue I believe we also addressed, but if you could just state the other issue again.
That conditions of when the discharge will be tested, who's liable for the payment of the discharge, and the schedule for the testing.
Yeah, so that is paragraph 6 talks about the CRA utilizing a certified laboratory approved by the town for all sampling with copies done at the site for the DEEP and EPA to be supplied to the town. And there was additional language in here. I believe it was. Find that language. There's additional language in here that says all expenses to be paid for by the applicant. So they control manholes shall be maintained on the discharge line for sampling at the location approved by the town in accordance with 172.23 of the municipal code.
Okay, and attorney, just one clarification. Even though it's a low discharge, there will be a specific meter installed?
The permit requires it.
Yes.
So unless the applicant were to come back and get relief saying the cost of the permit is excessive in light of the discharge. We're asking you to grant us relief from this. The permit will have language that says specifically the volume of wastewater discharge shall be recorded by a non-resettable meter.
But the importance of the meter is for billing, really, I think, because there's no other way to, because it's not, they don't have a water bill, because most of this is leachate from natural water source. So I think that is important to have a small meter for that facility only.
And in the opinion of the attorney, Tom Hyde, Mr. Casey, do we seem to have covered all the bases regarding risks and liabilities?
As a matter of law, attorney speaking, yes, I believe we've addressed the issue that we need to address. We've addressed the issues that have been raised previously by the body. And just for purposes of you, sir, I just sitting right in front of my eyes and glancing over it. There is specific language in paragraph 7 that I just highlighted that says the CRA shall pay all fees associated with the required sample. So yes, I believe we've covered all the liability concerns.
All right, thank you.
Any other question for Mr. Marino on this? Nope. Okay. So it sounds like we're good to go, Mr. Marino. We'll call for a vote then, and we'll vote to approve the permit as presented to the WPCA. I'm assuming that's okay with you?
That, Mr. Chair, that is fine with me, and I'm just trying to unshare my screen for you. I don't know, I'm not exactly sure how to do that, but
No problem.
so if you see me poking around, that's what I'm trying to do.
Understood. Understood. All right. So while Mr. Marino is unsharing the screen, I will entertain a motion to approve the permit as presented by WPCA attorney Ian Marino. I'll entertain that motion.
So moved by Bill O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Do I have a second to that?
Greg Can.
Greg, got your second. Thank you. Any further discussion on the item? Okay, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes 9-0. Thank you all. Thank you, Vin. Mr. Hyde, you are all, and that was it for you, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Hyde. Okay. And last item on the agenda is under new business. As we get through the ordinance, we'll be setting the schedule for the WPCA meetings for 2021. The fourth Monday of the month immediately following ordinance. I'll entertain a motion to approve that. Anybody?
Yeah.
Laura, Ms. Dancho, was that you?
Sure, I don't know if Ken was going to do it. Laura Dancho, motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Dancho, motion to approve. Do I have a second to that?
Second by Jim Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Connor, second. Any discussion on that? Okay, no discussion. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes 9-0. With that, the last item on the agenda, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Poisson, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Connor.
Mr. Pillow. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you, everyone. Everyone have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Everyone.